Welcome everybody into the Keeper Action News studio. Mick Miller alongside nobody because Alan Hoshida is out for the next 2 episodes. He is currently in Gilroy, California. We want to wish congratulations to him and his fiance. They will be getting married this coming Saturday. So for the next 2 episodes of the Monday Trifecta podcast, it will only be me, myself, and I. But I'm super excited to be here in the studio with you. We've got a lot of stuff to get into because not only did high school football kick off, but college football was in week 2. The NFL was in week 1. The Dust Devils are in the NWL Championship Series. They're back home tonight to take on the Hillsboro Hops. So much to get into, so much to dive into this podcast. So I hope you guys are subscribing to stay notified on all of our platforms. We're currently on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, pictures, all that good stuff. So I want to make sure that you guys know all the different sources that you can go to get this podcast, whether you want to just listen to the audio or if you would like to just sit down maybe at dinner or maybe after dinner and actually watch our episodes on YouTube. Make sure that you get out and follow all of our sites. Again, it's all on Monday Trifecta. Let's kick off today's show with the Dust Devils. After all the football, I thought we might kick off the show with football, but the Dust Devils are in the championship series, which is something that is truly amazing because in the second half of the season, they were vying for that last playoff spot. As you know, Spokane, they took home the first half, and it came down to the second half of Tri-City not only being able to take down Spokane, but keeping Everett away from that second spot because the way the playoffs work, it allows the team to get the first and second half playoff seed, then go to the championship series, and they worked through beating Spokane. There was a little bit of controversy because Spokane was supposed to have home field advantage, but due to the fair being held at their stadium, they weren't able to have home field. So they played 1 game in Spokane, came home for 2 in Tri-City. And on Friday, the Dust Devils, they won in the most dramatic fashion that I think I have ever seen. I wasn't at the game. Unfortunately, we had one of our shooters there shooting highlights. And would you believe it that Sean Gilby was up to bat with the bases loaded, tie game in extra innings? It was the bottom of the 10th inning. And Sean Gilby worked the count, and he got walked to first base, which subsequently allowed the runner on third to come home. And that is how Tri-City went to the NWL Championship Series. They had a lead. Spokane was able to cut the lead, go to extra innings, and then you get walked home for the game winner. It was absolutely stunning. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't going to make any highlight reels, but at the end of the day, the Tri-City Dust Devils are in the NWL Championship Series. Now, Game 1 was in Hillsboro, and that game took place on Saturday, and it was a dramatic game. Wasn't there, was following the game cast on my phone. It was kind of annoying because, you know, I wanted to watch the game. So much college football was going on, so much soccer in our area was going on, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But the Dust Devils had a 3-1 lead going into the 9th inning, and they had secured themselves. They had a 2-1 lead going into the top of the 9th. They were able to score an insurance run to give them a 2-run lead going into the bottom of the 9th inning, and then the wheels fell off. Not only was Hillsboro able to score a run right off the bat, making it 3-2, but Andy Yerzy hit a 3-run walk-off homer in the bottom of the 9th inning to give the Hops a win. So Dust Devils blow a 3-1 lead in the bottom of the 9th. They ended up losing 5-3 due to Andy Yerzy's walk-off homer. When you have emotional losses like that, it's really hard to recover, especially when you're on the road. So last night, Game 2 took place, and from the get-go, the Dust Devils weren't playing any games. Johnny Hamza hit a grand slam in the first inning. The Dusties scored 6 runs in the first inning. So right off the bat, Tri-City established the fact that they were going to be aggressive in this game. They weren't going to allow the Hops to get off to a quick start, and that they were going to hold on to a lead, something that they weren't able to do in Game 1. Hamza hits that huge grand slam in the first inning. They got a 6-0 lead. Hillsboro, they bounced back in the bottom of the first. They scored 1 run, but then Trey Carter hit a 2-run blast. And the Tri-City Dust Devils, they won huge last night. 9-1 was the final. The series is tied up 1-1 right now. This is a situation that we got going on right now as Siri is trying to disturb me. I don't know why it was bouncing, but here we go. Here's the situation. Dust Devils are at home. Games 3, Games 4, and if necessary, Game 5 will be played at Giza Stadium. So the next 3 games are home field advantage in favor of the Tri-City Dust Devils. So that means fans, you need to take your families, take your friends, get out to the game, go on the Dust Devils website, purchase your tickets. I hope to see you there. If you see me there, come say hi. We'll chop it up a little bit. I'll tell you to listen to more content, not only the Monday Trifecta podcast, but Friday Night Fever, and we'll get into all that in a little bit later in the podcast. So Game 3 is going to be tonight. In a couple hours, I'm going to go over to Giza Stadium, talk to Mike McCoy, hopefully Johnny Hamza, who had the Grand Slam last night, and Trey Carter, who's a veteran player. He's been here before. The Dust Devils have never won an NWL championship series. They've never won it. So right now, the urgency, the pressure of bringing that home for a city that has never had that championship, it's got to be on their shoulders, but at the same time, it has to be a relief knowing that you were able to go up to Hillsborough and split the 2 games on the road. Had you dropped Game 1 in dramatic fashion, then dropped Game 2, coming back for essentially a need to win 3 straight games, that would not be in a situation that you would want to be in. I know talking to Mike McCoy early in the season, he knows that Giza Stadium is advantageous for the Dust Devils in that the wind comes in on the batters and the fences are so far that it's hard for opposing teams to come into Giza Stadium and hit a lot of home runs. So Tri-City, they're used to that. They play a lot of small ball. They make sure they get guys in running scoring position, and then they bring those guys home. So Game 3 tonight at Giza Stadium. Games 4 and 5 will follow tomorrow and Wednesday if necessary. Here's my keys to victory for the Dust Devils. 1, they have to play small ball. You're not going to hit a bunch of home runs like they were able to do in Hillsborough. I mean, you might, but the likelihood of that happening, not very high because of the wind coming into the batters on Giza Stadium. So you want to play small ball. You want like Reynaldo Ilaraza, Jordy Barley, Matthew Acosta, those kind of guys to hit for the gaps. Work the count like Sean Gilby did. Get runners on base, and then once they get on base, work the count. Maybe have to hit a bunt to advance the runner. Make sure that those runs come home. On the defensive side, keep the ball in front of you. I know defense in the regular season had been a little bit of an issue. That seems that they've cleaned that up for the postseason, and the defense has been looking so much better. Pitchers make sure they throw strikes. You don't want to get into a situation like you did in Game 1 where the relievers came in and started walking players, and then as the result, those runners got in scoring position, and that's how they lost in Game 1. So pitchers throw strikes, runners play small ball, and I think the Tri-City Dust Devils, they could wrap this up in 2 games, tonight and tomorrow. You don't want to go into Game 5 even though you're at home, because right now you control your own destiny. Right now, all the momentum is going in your favor. You were able to steal that momentum in Game 2, continue that tonight. Now I'm going to talk to head coach Mike McCoy, and hopefully a couple players will have that in our 6 o'clock sportscast. And then at 11, we'll have those full game highlights. But the Tri-City Dust Devils there in the NWL Championship Series, which is very, very exciting. All right, I want to shift gears to this. High school football kicked off this past weekend. Kamaikan Braves, they took on West Valley on Thursday. And then Friday, our first Friday Night Fever show took place here in the Keeper Action News studio. So much fun to do it with Alan Hoshida. Again, he's going to be out of town this weekend because he's getting married. So Friday Night Fever is just going to be me, myself, and I. Kind of like this episode of the Monday Trifecta podcast. I'm going to try my hardest to give you the best games, the best content that I can. Luckily, I have a great team around me that runs all over the area grabbing highlights. So we're going to have a great show lined up for you this Friday. Let's recap this past week of Friday Night Football, kicking things off with a team that Alan and I have as our favorites to win the Mid-Columbia Conference, that being the Chiawana Riverhawks. In our Friday Night Fever game of the week, it was Chiawana up against Richland. And Richland, the Bombers, were able to get off to a quick start, scoring a touchdown. And I wasn't at the game, but talking with Alan and talking to other sources that were at the game, they talked about how Richland got off to that quick start and Chiawana was a little stagnant. However, when you have so many weapons that the Riverhawks have, eventually those weapons are going to be put to use and they're going to do damage on their opponents. So let me just show you what happened. JP Zamora threw 4 touchdown passes. Yes, a sophomore quarterback who started maybe 5 or 6 games last season due to injury being at the quarterback position before him, came in, tossed 4 touchdown passes, tossed one to Dion Lee, tossed one to Kobe Singleton. Kobe Young was in the mix. There are so many weapons on the Chiawana Riverhawks that my takeaway from that game is that every single night they have the talent to go into a game and have the confidence of knowing that they can beat any team in the MCC. The problem is, however, is making sure that that talent stays focused, making sure that talent stays locked in so that A trap game, like let's say you're going up to Walla Walla in week 8 on the road and you're not used to playing out there and you have to travel and you're young kids and you have fatigue and maybe you had a test that day that didn't go well. Being able to put that all out of your head to lock into the game, that's going to be the key for the Riverhawks. I think not only going undefeated, not only winning the MCC championship, but winning the state championship. So many weapons on the offensive side of the football. On the defensive side, they were sound, gave up the one big touchdown, but then really locked in and didn't allow any more touchdowns after that. Chiawana won 38-7 against the Richland Bombers. Big week coming up for Chiawana. I believe they take on Kennewick, and Kennewick looked really good, and that's where we're going to go next. The Kennewick Lions and the Hanford Falcons in the best game of the weekend, in my opinion. Kennewick won 17-13. I was there for the end of the second quarter, most of the third, and that's where most of the damage was being done. Mason, I just want to make sure I get these names right, and then I feel comfortable doing the college football ones and the NFL ones, so I'm got to get used to the kids that we were covering for high school. Mason Mayofsky, the sophomore running back for the Kennewick Lions, he is a monster. That kid runs angry. That kid runs hard. It's very hard to tackle him. You're not going to bring him down with arm tackles. So if you want to bring down this big running back, you need to get low and you need to get physical with this kid because he's going to come at you. He played great. I was very impressed, however, by Easton Wisehide, the junior quarterback for the Hanford Falcons. So much was talked about as the previous quarterback for the Falcons last season, setting 9 school records. Easton coming in, and he's a smaller kid, but that kid has got an arm. He's got a rocket, and he was out there dishing passes all over the place. However, the defense was sound from both sides of the football. Again, the final was 17-13 advantage of Kennewick. I think both of those teams are going to be very good. Kennewick is one of the teams that I had as my sleeper pick to win the MCC this season because Blaine Chavez is a very good quarterback. He's an even better safety. And his leadership was so evident in both of those games that I saw them at the Jamboree and then their first week of the season. He controls what goes on not only on the offensive and the defensive side of the football. Again, Kennewick and Chiawana are playing this upcoming week. I think that's going to be our game of the week because Blaine, speaking of Blaine and speaking of Mason, they play old school football in that they're not going to be too flashy. They're not going to try to do too much. They're going to play very sound, very fundamental, and they're going to put points on the board, and their defense is going to do what they can to keep you from not putting points on the board. And so Chiawana having all those weapons going up against a sound defense, I'm excited. Game's going to be very good. We're going to shift over to Kamiakin, who played on Thursday. I was there, was very impressed. They started off a little slow, and that's to be expected in week 1. You even saw it in college football, and you even saw it in the NFL yesterday if you watched any of the football games. Most teams start off slow because you're in training camp, you're going against your teammates every single day, and you kind of get bored and annoyed of going up against the same guys, and you just want to hit other dudes. West Valley came out, put some points on the board, but then Kamiakin set in. Tuna is a beast. I think Tuna and Mason are the 2 best running backs in the MCC. There are some other kids that are very talented, but I'm going to keep my eye on Mason. I'm going to keep my eye on Tuna. Tuna broke off like an 80-yard touchdown run where he bounced off defensive ends and then beat linebackers and then got to the second level, and then the cornerbacks and the safeties weren't able to keep up with him. So not only does he have the power and speed, unfortunately that run was called off because there was a holding penalty, but having him in the backfield is going to help Henry Mercado so much, and Henry looked great. Was tossing touchdown passes all over the place. Messiah Jones is a 6'6" wide receiver, a huge target. They didn't get him the ball as much as I'm sure they would have liked to, but the luxury that they have is Messiah is so big, and he's going to call upon the defense. Not only they're going to throw linebackers at him, but they're going to throw safeties along with the corner who's going to be guarding him. He requires so much attention from the defensive side of the football that guys like Kellen Rutz, they're going to have a very successful season. And Kellen had 2 touchdown passes like right off the bat. He's going to be successful because he reminds me of like a Julian Edelman, Wes Welker, and that they put him in the slot. And then you got your big-time #1 receiver that's going to require so much attention from the defense. Kellen is going to have so much success going across the middle, up the seam, and that's what he did this past weekend. Kamiakin, again, we've talked about Richland, we've talked about Chiawana, we've talked about Kennewick, Hanford, Kamiakin. These 5 teams, I mean, anybody could beat anybody, as it was evident this past week. All it takes is locking in. The Braves did that on Thursday. They were the first MCC team to play a game. They locked in. 46-24 was the final in that one, and the Braves are playing great football as of week 1. Shifting over to Pasco and Hermiston, this was the first game that I went to here in the Tri-Cities on a Friday night under the lights. Hermiston scored 2 touchdowns in their first 2 drives. Chase Elliott looked absolutely fantastic. He was tossing the ball all over the field using all of his weapons. There was one play in that the ball was hiked to him. He dropped the snap, picked up the ball, but threw it up the sideline and was a dime, was not phased. Unfortunately, he was injured on the 3rd drive. A lot of pressure came in. He threw it out. Ball was intercepted, and a lineman rolled up on his leg. A little bit later that night, I texted him to see how he was doing, and he was on his way to go get x-rays. He's currently getting MRIs and waiting for those tests to get back to see the extent of the injury. But if the MRI comes back that there's nothing structurally wrong with his knee, he's looking at 6 to 8 weeks of recovery. I hate when stuff happens like this, especially to the kids that are playing in our area, especially in high school. I mean, you never want to see injuries in sports, period. But especially for these young kids that love these sports so much. He's a sophomore quarterback. His first start as a varsity quarterback under those bright lights. Had 2 touchdown drives in his first 2 drives as a quarterback, and things were looking great, and he gets injured, unfortunately. So it's really hard to see. I talked to Chase because I went to, during our keeper camp tours, Hermiston was one of the schools that I went to, and I talked to him. We wish you the very best, Chase. I know that right now it's very hard to have an injury and then to get through that, but use this time to get your mind right, rehab, and you'll come back stronger than ever. I liked what I saw from Pasco. Pasco ended up winning this game 27-20. Leon Wright-Jackson, the head coach for the Bulldogs of Pasco, because this was Battle of the Bulldogs, Hermiston and Pasco, he's building something over there. And I don't know how their season this year is going to shake up. Got a lot of young guys. And when you take over, this is only his 2nd year as a coach. When you take over for a team that has struggled in recent years, you first couple years are a little rough, but then once you're able to figure out what your identity is and then build upon that, I mean, sky's the limit for the Pasco Bulldogs. After Chase went down, Pasco outscored Hermiston 27-6. Now, a lot of that has to do with the other team's quarterback going down and that being demoralizing of Hermiston. But at the same time, the coaching for Pasco, the culture that they're building over there. I was on Pasco's sideline. So when we go shoot games, we just choose one sideline, and we go up and down the sideline shooting highlights. And I was on Pasco's side. The level of accountability amongst the players, the coaches, the fans was amazing. The fans came out, and there was a huge crowd making a lot of noise. Had the band out, band was playing, the drum line was amazing. I mean, I was shooting highlights, and I was trying to not to look like a fool and dance on the sidelines. Band looked great. Student section looked great. When bad things were happening in that first quarter, all the players were being held accountable. I saw linemen getting in the faces of other linemen, not in this is your fault, or blaming their teammates, just inspiring them to be better, get their blocks. Offense was struggling in the first quarter. I saw offensive players come up to the quarterback and say, hey, lock in. You got this. So I attest that to Coach Jackson. I attest that to what that coaching staff is trying to build in Pasco. And let me tell you, I don't know what's going to happen this year, but in the years to come, that team is going to look like the top tier teams in the MCC. Hermiston, I think they have the talent offensively and defensively to still be okay, but anytime you lose your starting quarterback week 1, I mean, you saw what happened to Jacksonville yesterday. They lost Nick Foles in week 1 as well, and it's just demoralizing for the team. So now we got to go to Walla Walla and Southridge. Walla Walla was able to win 36-17. These two teams are interesting in that from the community and from the media, not a lot of people are talking about these two teams because they're young. They had quarterback battles in training camp. so not a lot of people know what to expect from them. 36-17, that's a lot of points for Walla Walla, in that they didn't really know who their quarterback was when I went out for the keeper camp tour. For them to put 36 points up on the board, that's huge. It'll be interesting to see how the rest of the season works out for these two teams. I'm interested in seeing how Southridge bounces back. Talking to the coaches in the preseason, they talked about how when teams look at the schedule, they look at Southridge and they circle it and they already put a W. And he said that should make you angry. That should make you want to come in and beat up any team that you go up against. So losing on the road week 1 at Walla Walla, I know that's going to be rough for the Suns, but same thing for the Blue Devils. You put up 36 points in your first game. Not a lot of teams were putting up 30-plus points in week 1. Are you able to build upon that? That's going to be the main question for the Blue Devils, and then we'll see if they can build upon that. Let's go to a little bit of smaller schools, TCP and Liberty Christian. Woo! Talk about air raid, talk about high scoring, talk about literally every phase of your team playing great. That's what happened for the Jaguars. They won 76-9. I got the final score and I was like, is there like a typo? Is this because this can't be right? 79-6. I mean, there's nothing much I can say. The fact that you put up 79 points on the board means Dante, his knee is fine. Kobe Singleton's obviously going to help Chiawana a lot, but the Jaguars obviously have a lot of weapons, so they're not going to miss him as much as guys like I thought that they would. It's crazy. I expect Liberty Christian to bounce back, however. Like, yes, this was a bad loss, and you lost in a bad way, but the best thing is it can't get worse, and it's week 1, so you know what went wrong, what you need to fix, and you still have a bunch of games ahead of you. The question now is, can you make those changes, and can you now move forward? TCP won big 79-6. That's kind of the recap of all of our high school, not all of them. We still have a bunch of other teams, but for the time restraint that I have and the fact that I don't have a co-host today, which is kind of what we wanted to focus in on the MCC and then also Tri-Cities Prep, who won big 79-6. Let's talk quickly on college football and NFL. College football, the game of the week for me was LSU versus Texas, and Joe Burrow balled out. It was great seeing Sam Ehlinger and Joe Burrow. If you're a young quarterback or you are a young kid that wants to play quarterback, go watch that game over again. The fact that LSU now has a quarterback, it's going to make it interesting in the SEC. Quickly, my power rankings in college football right now, I would have to say I think LSU is the best team. Obviously, it's only the first 2 weeks, and so we have a small sample size. But power rankings for me would be LSU number 1 because I can see it against real teams. Clemson number 2, Alabama number 3, Oklahoma 4, and Ohio State 5. Those 5 teams to me right now, any of those 5 have a legit chance to go to the college football playoff and even win a championship. So lots of teams. Washington State is 2-0, a big win this past weekend. Washington, major delays. There was lightning, there was thunderstorms, but they were able to get a victory this past weekend. A lot of the teams in the area are doing very, very well. On the NFL side of things, the Seahawks won 21-20 yesterday. It was way too close. I have major concerns about the Seattle Seahawks offensive line. Russell Wilson is again running for his life on almost every play. Now, Chris Carson played very well, caught a pass out of the backfield and scored, punched one in from 2 yards. DK Metcalf looked really good, 4 receptions for 80-some yards. Tyler Lockett was very quiet through the first 3 quarters, but to kick off the fourth quarter, he got loose up the middle and scored a huge touchdown that ended up being the game's winning touchdown because Cincinnati Bengals are the Cincinnati Bengals. So, I mean, Seahawks are in a very tough division. The Rams won yesterday against the Panthers. The Rams are the Rams, and so you can expect big things from them. The whole Antonio Brown situation, don't want to get into it too much, but was released from the Raiders. And it was announced on, I think, Saturday morning that he signed with the New England Patriots. And if you watched NBC's Game of the Week yesterday, the Patriots won 33-3 without Antonio Brown. without Rob Gronkowski, I'm just going to pencil in the New England Patriots winning the Super Bowl again this year. Especially if Antonio, because here's the thing, Antonio Brown is only a win-win situation. If he comes in and helps the team win, okay, that's just another weapon for Brady. If he is a knucklehead and they release him, they won 33-3 against the Steelers last night, so it's not like they really even need him. Josh Gordon looked great. Julian Edelman looked great. James White looked great. I mean, everybody was looking really good. And Tom Brady's 42 years old, but he doesn't play like it. He's so smart. He's so good. He gets the ball out of his hands so quick that the Patriots, I mean, I'm trying to tell you, they're going to be a serious problem. So much going on. Okay, breaking down the week for you again. Tonight, Game 3, NWL Championship Series at Giza Stadium. Game 4, same time, 7:05, Giza Stadium. If it is necessary, which means if the Dust Devils lose tonight or win tonight and lose tomorrow, Game 5 will be played at Giza Stadium at 7:05. So the next 3 games, you can pencil in at least 2 more baseball games being played at Giza. Sports-wise, girls soccer, volleyball, we got games tomorrow and Thursday, and then Friday. We are back again for Friday Night Fever. It's just going to be myself. As I said earlier, Alan Hoshida, congratulations. He's going to get married this past weekend. So on Friday Night Fever was going to be with just me, myself, and I. I'm super excited. We got a bunch of games to get to. We got a lot of highlights. We got a lot of storylines, so make sure to keep it locked on Keeper Action News. I'll be live somewhere. I don't know where I'm going to be live at 6, but I will be live at 6 some high school with all the kids getting super hyped and ready for the first game. And then at 11, we'll tune in at 11 because we have news and weather. And then to close out the show, Friday Night Fever. I'm going to go talk to Mike McCoy right now, so make sure to tune into Keeper Action News tonight at 6 and 11, Monday through Sunday. Don't go anywhere else. Just keep it locked here on Keeper Action News. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I think we're at episode 8 at this point. 8 or 9. I can't remember. I'm supposed to be the historian. I'm supposed to remember all these things, but I don't remember. We are so many episodes in. I want to thank everybody who's tuned in to all of our podcasts. And if this is your first time, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you know that it's just not me every single week rambling incoherently for 30 to 40 minutes. I do have a co-host, and he will be here not next Monday, but the following Monday. So make sure to tune in next Monday as well for the Monday Trifecta podcast. We'll talk more MCC. We'll talk how the season ended for the Dust Devils. Were they able to win the championship, or were they upset at home? So much stuff to get into. Remember, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud. Those are the 4 platforms that the Monday Trifecta podcast is on currently. All you have to do is search Monday Trifecta. See that logo right there? That's all you have to search. Thank you so much for tuning in. For Mick Miller and my good friend Alan Hoshida, who is not here, thank you for tuning in to the Monday Trifecta podcast. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Monday.